Welcome back to your favourite day of the week, everyone, where today we're travelling down the River Nile in our inflatable dinghy in order to discover the true secrets of what the ancient Egyptians ate and how they fueled themselves to build the Great Pyramids. Or did aliens build the pyramids? Most likely, but that would be a story for another video. In today's video, we're discussing something extremely important: food. So I've laid out today's menu for you. Starter, we're learning who the Egyptians really were. The main course, we're finding out what the Egyptians ate. And for dessert, we're finishing off with how they ate their food and their eating habits. But I must inform you of today's special offer. If you like the video and subscribe to the channel, you do get a free toy with every meal. And today's free toy is indeed a limited edition Jamie's Day rubber ducky. So make sure you don't miss out on that offer. Anyway, who were the Egyptians? Ancient Egypt was a civilization of ancient North Africa, concentrated along the lower reaches of the Nile River, situated in the plain that is now the country Egypt, funnily enough. The era of ancient Egypt covers a roughly 3,000 year period, but their diet remained remarkably stable over that time. The success of ancient Egyptian civilization came partly from its ability to adapt to the conditions of the Nile River Valley for agriculture. The predictable flooding and controlled irrigation of the fertile valley produced surplus crops, which supported a more dense population and social development for culture. As there was no ancient Egyptian Gordon Ramsay leaving cookbooks everywhere or recipes,
fuck me!
Much of what we know about ancient Egyptian lives comes from an artwork on the wall which shows growing, hunting and preparation of their food. The thing I like most about ancient Egyptian culture is, like any normal person, then ancient Egyptians enjoyed a good drink. And beer was consumed daily. However, the beer they drank wouldn't be like anything we drank today. It would be far more nutritious and an important source of proteins, minerals and vitamins. The beer would be of a similar consistency to a thin porridge, be more sweet, and it wouldn't be particularly intoxicating. So there goes your choice. You could either have today's beer and get drunk quicker, or you could either have ancient Egyptian beer and be far more healthy. Tough choice. Tough choice. Tough choice. Beer was the most common drink in ancient Egypt and played such an important role in Egyptian life it was used as a currency. Wages were often paid in beer and other things, but mostly beer. And the workmen living in the workers' village at Giza received beer 3 times a day as part of their rations. Beer was enjoyed by both adults and children and was a staple drink for the poor Egyptians, but also central to the diet of the wealthy Egyptians. Well, you're probably thinking, how was beer the most common drink in Egypt when the entire civilization was situated next to a river, with rivers usually containing water, and this water would be drinkable from the River Nile, because River Nile has water in it, and water is a drinkable liquid, which would be more common than beer, and you didn't have to make it, you just got the river water from the Nile and drank the river water from the Nile. Well, basically, the Egyptians didn't want to drink water because they enjoyed being drunk a lot. That's not the reason. This is the reason. But when they observed people drinking water from the Nile, they observed them getting sick. So the Egyptians didn't really want to drink water from the Nile. And they wanted more excuse to be drunk. Which is fair, really. Anyway. As well as beer, bread would have also been a staple and consumed daily, which was made from emmer wheat. Emmer wheat was far more difficult to turn into flour than other wheats, and to speed up the process, sand would often be added to the grinding mills, which was evident in the tooth decay of mummies. Vegetables complemented the beer and bread, and the Egyptians absolutely loved garlic, proving the Egyptians were not vampires. It was paid to pyramid workers and was believed to improve workers' strength and stamina. Cloves of garlic were also found in King Tutankhamun's tomb, and was also used for medicinal purposes in ancient Egypt. Green scallions were also similarly common and used for medicinal purposes, and other wild vegetables included in their diet were onions, leeks, lettuces, celery, cucumbers, radishes, turnips, and papyrus stalks. Unlike the vegetables which were grown all year round, Fruits were more of a seasonal affair. Dates, grapes and figs were the most common fruits in ancient Egypt and were also used for sweeteners, most commonly in bread. Figs were popular because they are high in sugar and protein, while grapes and dates could be dried, preserved and also used to produce red and white wines, which were drank by the elites due to the expensive nature of wine. Honey, though, was the most prized sweetener and was rather important to Egyptian life. It was used for everything, from sweetening foods, preventing infection by being placed on wounds, or paying taxes. Honey was so important in Egyptian life that one marriage contract has been found which states, "I take thee to wife and promise to deliver to thee yearly 12 jars of honey." Lucky woman. Meat came from domesticated animals, game and poultry. The Egyptians had mastered animal husbandry, and it was noted by the Greeks that the ancient Egyptians shared a close bond with their animals, even sharing their living spaces with them. They kept many animals we would expect, like goats, cows, sheep and chickens, as well as a few we might not, such as ducks and geese. Pigs were also raised and eaten, but it was considered taboo at one point because the priests related the pig to the Egyptian god Set or Seth, who was assumed to be a pig-like figure, and it was assumed to be evil as well, so eating pork was said to be unclean and to be avoided. Meat was seen as more of a luxury food consumed by the rich, with beef being the most expensive. Hunters would catch wild game, which included the exotic taste of crane and gazelles, and there is even some rare sources that the Egyptians also hunted hippos. Hippo meat is still actually a delicacy to eat in some parts of Africa, but is actually illegal due to declining hippo populations. So similarly to whale, which the Vikings ate, which we discussed in the previous video. I can't remember which side the card comes up, but go click on it after this video. I was curious to what hippo actually tasted like, and I done my Google searches and I found it tasted like beef with a slightly sweet flavour and tough to the texture, and often served as steaks. If they fancied something smaller, mice and hedgehogs were readily available to eat. The hedgehogs would be cooked in clay, so when it was cooked the clay would be removed and the clay would take the spikes with them, meaning the hedgehogs weren't prickly in the mouth anymore. Living next to the Nile, fish were readily available to be caught, however there is some disagreement as to whether ancient Egyptians included fish into their daily diet. Wall paintings do show evidence, however, of fishing with spears and nets. Some fish were considered sacred, such as the Nile perch, due to their relation with the Egyptians' gods, while others could be eaten after being roasted or dried and salted. With all this food, the Egyptians would have ate 2 meals per day, a breakfast of bread and beer, and a hearty dinner of vegetables, meat, and more bread and beer. Banquets would have started sometime in the afternoon, with unmarried men and women being separated. Social status would determine seating arrangements, with those of the higher status sitting on chairs, those slightly lower sat on stools, and the lowest rank sat on the floor. The flavouring of the food would have been enhanced with spices and herbs, but most spices and herbs would have been imported, so spices and herbs were quite expensive, and spices and herbs would have only been used for the wealthy kitchens. As important as food was in life for the Egyptians, it was also as important in the afterlife. Honey that's still good to eat has been found, along with dates, breads, and even mummified pieces of meat for consumption in the afterlife. So there ends our 3-course meal. I hope you've all enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please leave a 5-star review on TripAdvisor, and if you haven't yet, claim your free rubber ducky. I've been Jamie's Day, your favourite day of the week, and this is what food did the Egyptians eat. I'll see you all next time. Peace. And recipes everywhere. Much of what we know about ancient Egyptian life comes from the artwork on the walls, which depict hunting, food preparation, and something else. Growing. The Nile River did offer fresh water, but the Egyptians observed people getting sick when they drank it.